the basketball conversation, rather table tennis. Table Tennis Kenya, they received a sponsorship deal worth 21 million shillings that's going to span over 3 years. How is that going to change the face of the sport in the country? How much saving is going to come through, and how are they going to do that? That's the first conversation we're going to be having. Andrew Mudibo, the president of Table Tennis Kenya, is going to be joining us around that. And on our news cycle, we know that tomorrow Parliament resumes sittings, so there is a build-up towards that. And right within the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, we have got 13 radio services, no less than 13 radio services. And this week, we are going to be celebrating the World Radio Day on the 13th of February. But the celebrations are going to run all week, starting today. So at the KBC Gardens, there's a space within that is where the celebrations are going to start today. So that's part of what we're doing within the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. Also, there is a prayer service for the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and this has been organized by the Orange Democratic Movement at the Bomas of Kenya. And this is as travels to Addis Ababa, where the are going to be the elections for the African Union Commission chairmanship. So that's part of what we're looking at. And also the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is going to be launching the police systems audit launch today. So that's another story that we're going to be keeping tabs on. And remember, there is more happening all around, even as the KBC family and the country as a whole. You know, we're also going to be looking at the life and times of the late Leonard Mambombo. Tell us stories about him and everything that he did, you know, as a musician, as a broadcaster over the years, and as we celebrate his life. So the stories and also updates on his, you know, final journey, the funeral service on Friday at 2 p.m. at the All Saints Cathedral before he's laid to rest on Saturday. That's just part of the conversations that we're going to be having through this Monday right here on KBC. Our sign language interpreter is Ann Wangeshi. So before Andrew comes into the studio, let's first of all get a look at what went down over the weekend in the FKF Premier League. There was the top of the table clash. This was Tusker FC against Police. It ended in a stalemate, 0-0. Here are the highlights.
Kiruna sichenje Bebeto katikati. Meteleza Kelly Kunji Matata. Napigwa outfoot imekasi Lolo. Pembeni kwake Steven Bwire Mbulere. Mbulere sasa Bwire! Mekula nguzo. Steven Bwire Mbulere. Ilikuwa ameanza mapema kabisa. William Luya amenyanyuka hau. Vipi ameipiga nje. Nafasi hizi ni adimu kuzipata. Mekwenda kusomeana. Ilipigwa pa
wamelala sana mabeki wawili. Gideon Were katafutwa kabisa. Steven Bwire akawa anamsindikisha mchezaji Lewis Bandi, ila Opia ametokea na akajaribu kubana kabisa, kitu ambacho kimemfanya mpira kiungo hicho cha kati.
Idi amegoza hapo na pili kwa Leon Levitt. Nafasi Lovae Levis Opia Junior save kumeletwa ndani. Sio Lolo alijua tayari ngoma imecheza kwenye nyavu, lakini reaction yake ilikuwa nzuri.
Pia na Ronald Bebeto
Muone Uchame ameikosa. Sasa nao Andreas Mali amepigwa kutafutwa Alu Salum Omar. Alu Salum amechelewa. Lovae Levis Opia Junior anapigiwa kofi.
Andreas alikuwa amepiga pasi nzuri kabisa, lakini akawa anafika mchezaji Alu Salum. Lile lango pia alikuwa ametoka kwa muda unaofaa. Nia ilikuwa labda ni kujaribu kuchip, lakini mlinde lango pia amefanya kazi ya kikweli, na huenda ikawa alikuwa anaogopa tu Alu Salum kutokana na majeraha ambayo ametoka kule nje.
Tena nayo Mali anayo Muno Uchami, anaachia fataki ile, amekataa kwanza Kesa, ya pili imetoka. Naambia tu
anazidi kufanya ile kazi kabisa Wekesa, kwa ameachiliwa fataki nzito, nusura tu akaitema Victor Muno Chami, yule ameachilia zito ile.
Mhadhiri wa hisabati hajawahi kukosea, Peter Waweru Kamaku.
David Kalama. Pembeni huko Idrisa Madidi. Anakuwa na Roger Sobuso Wasega, ametoka wa kwanza. Wanapata ikabu Bidco United. Roger Sobuso Wasega kimchezea madhambi sajili mpya Idrisi Diamadi. Kumemla chobo uzuri Roger Sobuso. Sasa Salim Babu Njarai kwenda kucheza Thomas Onaina Marcelo. Ameanza fupi ile. Tachi ya kwanza imemkataa Victor Kunyeli. Wanaondoka City Stars. Bran Mzeo Mondi Mzeles. Piga pasi kule kwake Gilbert Abala. Winga Teleza. Ametoka langoni Daniel Ojuor. Amekosa bado. Gilbert Abala. Nafasi na Mjaile. Gilbert Abala. Ilikuwa ni counter attack bora kabisa. Akifungua account yake bamdogo huyu Gilbert Abala. Simba wa Nairobi. Pasi yake Bran Mzeo Mondi Mzeles ikamkuta, akatumia kasi yake kwa ubora. Gilbert Abala alikuwa ameachiwa kipa Daniel Ojuor, akashinda kuondoa, lango likabaki wazi kabisa, kaishia tu kupasia nyavuni kule. Gilbert Abala ambaye amepata goli lake la kwanza alishinda kuklia Daniel Ojuor, nyavu zile zikabaki wazi kabisa, na wanapata goli la kwanza na wamejibiwa naye Gilbert Abala kama Ronaldo. Akaenda juu Henry Onyango, anza naye Jacob Onyango Yobo, pembeni kule Idris Idi Amadi. Wapo wengi nyuma kipindi cha pili. Idris Amadi mimina ndani, ameshinda mpira wa kwanza bado. Victor Kunyeli, siku ya kwanza kazini, mechi yake ya kwanza ndani ya ligi kuu nchini Kenya. Bamdogo Victor Kunyeli amekuwa na siku bora kazini leo, siku yako ya kwanza tu hivi na unapata goli. Alicheza kichwa Henry Onyango, aliweka onside wote wawili. Kijana yule Edwin Angaba Buliba akaweza kujaza kitu kambani kule. Victor Kunyeli melipa imani ya kocha Anthony.
Yeah, the highlights of the FKF Premier League matches played over the weekend. 20 matches into the season, and there's still a lot to come. Remember, we're heading into match day 21, and let's see which of the teams we'll be keeping our eyes on. Time for us to get into our first conversation, and this is about the Kenya Table Tennis Association sponsorship that they've received, and also the activities that they're going to have for the year 2025. It's a sporting year. Everyone's got their eyes on something, but for every federation, their eyes all around the Youth Olympics, Dakar 2026. So it's a 1 year of build-up that's going to be happening. And in studio to talk about this, and also in the backdrop of a sponsorship for 21 million shillings for over 3 years to do with equipment, is the president of the Kenya Table Tennis Association, Andrew Mudibo. Andrew, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Well, let me just take a look at this. And this is a story that, came out last week. And just over a week ago, you signed with the Kenya Table Tennis Association, signed with TAG, and this was to get equipment that will support the sport. We're talking about tables, branded attire, the bats, the balls. People will talk about, people just look at table tennis and they don't know that given the surface you play on, the flooring, you actually need correct shoes that are right. Yeah. So just give us a background of this deal with STAG and the implication for the sport as it is.
Yeah, thank you. Now, the sponsorship deal that we have signed with STAG, which is one of the leading manufacturers of table tennis equipment in the world, it's up to a minimum of around, let's say, 21 million. It can even go higher. We can spend even up to 50 million. Now, what that entails is that they will be giving us annually, they'll be giving us equipment in terms of playing competition kit, rackets, balls, tables, anything that touches on table tennis. You know that table tennis is it's an expensive sport. I know when we started, when we tried to first bring table tennis down to the grassroots, we looked at it in terms of coming down to maybe the poorer areas. But the fact remains, and the real thing that we all need to realize is that in sports, there are sports that are made for the rich, and there are sports that are made for the poor. There are certain sports which you can never take to the poor areas because of the cost implications. Now, it is out of that we have decided with STAG that why not get into a partnership in terms of them coming on board as sponsors so that they can be able to give this equipment. Now, this equipment will now go a long way in terms of setting up satellite training centers. We've had St. Teresa's Table Tennis Club being there over the past couple of years, and it has worked. So it is a matter of just pushing down those equipment there. Now, as we move on, we believe if a player gets the best equipment that the international players are also getting, they now stand a chance. Now, what that means is that, yes, we have done, let's say, 21 million. There's a balance that needs to be done. That is just equipment that has been sorted out. We still need to sort out in terms of sponsorship, the traveling of these players. Table tennis, and just like lawn tennis, you have seen Angela Okutoi. She travels from country to country, circuit to circuit, collecting points. It's the same also with table tennis. I know many times people ask, why is Kenya not ranked internationally? Why is Brian Mutua not ranked in the highest? Brian will never be ranked in the highest level if he does not participate in many events internationally. And these events are there regularly, they're there monthly, they're there weekly. So it is us to make sure that they're able to go around to these events. And that is where we are looking at in terms of the next phase of our sponsorship.
Because I'll be coming back to that, to the higher level. But the implication now, let's just historically look at table tennis. It's around schools, or if there is a community center, it's always been, you'll find an ordinary ping pong table that may have been there. You'd see that, for example, how would I describe it? Somewhere around the verandas of in the schools, it would be outdoor somewhere around the dining hall, the social hall. You would also have, or you find that in the estates, there somebody who's decided, let me have a ping pong table, and people can do that. How different is this equipment that we see every day in our schools, community centers, and what you're getting from STAG?
Well, what you're getting from STAG is the high-end equipment. It's the best equipment that you're getting. What we've been seeing in schools, I will say that is more like a hobby. When I started playing table tennis, I started playing it on our family's dining table. In fact, my mom was upset when she's setting up for dinner, you're playing table tennis. So it is the same. So we can't say that it is bad, it is not bad, it is good for us. The only thing that we need to realize and maybe capture is that the advantage that we have, many people play table tennis.
Yes.
Many of them play everywhere. And that is why a few years back we started a project called Tucheze Table, which we wanted to involve everybody in families to come and play table tennis. Now what is remaining is how do we convert the player who plays in a hobby way to be able to play now in a competitive way, to become a competitive player. And that is why, as late as 3 weeks ago, we had an international coaching course, which was level 1, where we brought in a coach who would be able to coach coaches for them to be able to coach and convert these hobby players into serious players. So we picked majority from schools and also from around the country. And we believe as we go stage by stage, with sponsorship now coming in and sponsorship now starting to flow into table tennis, I believe then table tennis will be more stable in terms of it being ranked internationally, and not just internationally, also here locally in Kenya.
Okay. So, and it's this coaching and taking it down because you say get them young, especially the high. The schools system is what has been the pipeline for a lot of in many sports. It's the school systems that would drive this. You have indicated this. What are the changes that you want to see impacted competitively with schools?
When you talk about schools, it's good that you even brought it up, is that may other hat that I wear is the Deputy President of Africa Table Tennis Federation. I'm in charge of development. And what we are doing and what we are looking at right now as Africa Table Tennis is that we want to get into all schools in the entire continent of Africa. Like in Kenya, we have the Kenya Secondary School Sports Association. So we are looking at joining all schools sports associations within Africa for us to be able to run a table tennis project within the schools. So we believe that if we run through the schools, that is where the talent is easy to be picked and also to be nurtured. And that is why you see, like when we did the training course, we concentrated more or less with the teachers, because teachers, majority of them stay in that same station for many years. They never leave.
It's true.
But they are the best teachers, they're the best coaches for us in terms of them being the first contact point for players. And then from there, we can always come in and build up from there.
Now, the other thing is, I know about, I think a couple of years ago, you said that even as you build up to any national event, you always want it to be played at the local level, scale it up from, the county level, move up, to a regional level before you now have a national championship. How has been the response in the grassroots areas in the country?
Problem has always been issues of equipment. That's number one. Then number two, if people find that support is not there, that maybe you are not going to play, you find people so shy away from the sport. Then number three, which we also need to realize and we agree, it's a fact of life, is that it is not just table tennis. The other sports that people compete with. Like in January, at the beginning of January, we had a conference in Stockholm, in Sweden. It was about esports. Now, nowadays, many of these young ones are using esports, not the mainstream sports. So what we are looking at also is how do we use, for example, esport to be able to build up table tennis. So that is one area which we want to look at, whereby if, for example, we are having an event and we bring in the esport games to be played there, will we be able to bring in more players to come in and play the young ones? Will we be able to get them to be interested? Because not many of them, if you give, for example, I tell your son or daughter, what would you like, to play this table tennis or to play the computer games? 90% they will say they want the computer games. So that is, again, it's an area of disadvantage that we have to work with, but we need to turn it around so that it is also an advantage. It is something that we can now build upon to make the game to be more popular.
Well, very interesting. I think over the weekend I had a conversation with the people around esports, and even mobile is a very big thing. And they're actually willing to work with all these other federations. So looking at, despite that, looking at how people now will adapt, I think part of the equipment that you are receiving, the shoes and all that. And from, for example, the pictures that we have, the ITTF Africa Cup, which Kenya hosted. One of the things is the flooring that is there. And just, just give us an idea into context as to how it's, the kind of, normally would play on concrete here, training, everything, the floors are concrete. But now you move on to what is supposed to be the real surface with the flooring. How is that, a big challenge for you?
When we started playing, we all play, let's say, the Kienyeji way, which is not international. You don't even know, but you just played you loved the game, it interested you, and you started playing. But along the way, you find players started picking up injuries that would have been avoided. And that is why nowadays, in table tennis, you cannot play on a concrete floor. It has to be rubber flooring that is brought in and put in. Now, the carpet floor that, for example, we put in Kasarani during the different events that we've hosted in the past, it cost a lot of money. Like what we had, that was around 8 million Kenya shillings just for the flooring alone. That's what I'm saying. There are sports that are expensive, and there are those that anybody can just play, which are cheap.
Because that is now at the competition level, but up at the sema si flow ni flow. But that's not what happens out.
Yeah, because for us right now, the most important thing is the injury. The injuries that players pick up is what we need to also look at. So I know many people will say, like, for example, why is Kenya table tennis not being ranked internationally? But it is not just even about the ranking. There are different aspects that we need to look at. For us, we need to get a balance. The balance between the national team, balance between the normal hobby player, balance between a player who just wants to play it for fun. So all that we have to make sure that it is rolled into one, and we are able to try and satisfy as many as we can within the different segments that are there.
So, and this is now, let me come to the competition level, and so that people understand. Number one, when, for example, if the ITTF were to come and say, let's get a ranking event here, I know one of the things they're going to look at is where the standard playing surface is what they would look at. Just give us a whole breakdown of that.
If they were to have an event here, one is you have the minimum requirements that are there for a specific venue in terms of size of the venue, the lighting condition, they're there in terms of how many lux, so that cameras can also be able to record. And then the infrastructure around it is just the same way as you are doing CHAN and also CAF, AFCON and all that.
Yeah. 2,000 lux for HD. That's a lot. That's a lot of lighting.
Yeah. So for table tennis is also the same. There are certain things that need to be looked at. Now, many people forget that when you talk about infrastructure, it's not just the playing venue itself. Infrastructure is also outside in terms of the road network, security, hotel accommodation. How is your transport system? How does it work? All that has to be put in place. So hosting an event is not just when you get into the venue and people start playing. There's a lot that happens outside it, including the manpower that will go around it. So all that builds up to you having an event here that can be hosted here.
Well, it's very interesting because we've hosted 2018, I think, and 2022.
We hosted in 2018 and 2023.
And 2023, yes. So let's talk about this and that, so that people really understand. Yes. So that at times when they see an event, the ITTF Africa Cup, you only have about 16 players or maybe the doubles teams. Just tell us, what anyone. Yes. What the number of boxes you ticked, because it may sound repetitive, but just to have this right and ensure that even the officials from ITTF Africa and from the global body come and they're inspecting, they know that this is right.
When you host an event, for example, like what we had in the ITTF Africa Cup, now being played here, that event in the entire world.
Yes.
The event that we held in 2018, I think we got coverage was close to around, we got around 40 million viewers that Kenya was able to broadcast to the entire world. It was 40 million. In fact, that event was voted the best organized event in the world for that year.
Congratulations.
So there's a lot. So it's not a matter of you just seeing maybe even an empty stadium. Yes, the stadium might be empty. There are ways of covering and not showing the emptiness. But what is important, as you know, Wahome, when you talk about TV rights, people buy and pay for TV.
Yes.
So that they can be able to sell it to other areas and they get markets or maybe sponsors around that segment. And that is what is there. Like when we hosted different events which we've been having, we've been trying to get sponsors also to come on board and maybe advertise when the event is being televised. So it is a whole lot of thing that is there. You've got the support system around it. For example, you have doctors.
Actually, this is what you're putting out, because this is a conversation people are picking up, is that the primary audience for this global event is not the person in the stadium, it's those who are watching on TV.
Yes, because those who can be able to make it, it is a good experience. It's a live experience you're getting. I can see you have some basketball players here.
Yes.
For me, it would be more exciting for me to sit next to the basketball being played, or even rugby. The atmosphere within the stadium and atmosphere at home on TV is completely different.
Yes.
So, but what counts? What counts is the TV. And that is why sports nowadays is commercial.
So the biggest revenue stream is that. Now the support network that you always put out there, you can just take us through that.
The support network, let's say, number one, you'll have to work with government. I know many times people try to say government is interfering. Government does not interfere. Government are our biggest partners in sports development. Without them, you can't get players into the country. Like when you are hosting, first thing we did is to engage with the Ministry of Sports. Through them, the government brought in now on board the immigration, because you have players who are coming from different countries. They need to get visas. Some of them may be free. Then you also need to know there are certain issues that are there. Maybe governments are having fights. Like we had an issue last year, whereby, for example, Ethiopia and Egypt,
yes,
were in conflict. But our best players are coming from Egypt. They had to get into Ethiopia. So how do you work it out? You needed the Ethiopian government to work out through the sports ministry to allow the Egyptian players to be there.
Wow, very interesting there, the government involvement.
So it is the same also here. That's why the government must be involved. They need to give you guidance so that you know that the government is there. And apart from the sponsorship that government gave us, there are also elements of, many people don't know that when you are hosting an event, that also security agencies are also involved. The NSIS are involved. The police are involved. Then depending with the kind of setup you have, are you going to get NYS? Are you going to get the normal security company to be there? So there's a lot, 90% of what builds up to the event is not what you see. It is all done in the background. The events that we did, for example, in Kasarani, we had a workforce of around 150 people. Now, you ask me, if it is only 16 players, why do you need this workforce?
That's about 10 people for every player.
There's a question that was also asked, that why do we need to, if it is only 16, why do you need to, will you reduce the time of maybe the lights? If electricity for 1 hour is X amount, even if you're only one person in that hall, that electricity will still cost the same.
Very true.
So there are certain aspects that you cannot cut. You have a media team that has to be there. You have a social media team. You have the publicity team. So you've got different groups that will be working on their own. And all of them will be building up. So it is not just the playing bit of it. Yeah.
Oh, well, so there you can see, and that is what is actually behind hosting an event and bringing up all of this equipment. And we can see that Kenya's taken one step towards that. We already know that the flooring is there, which means that if we are to do, even if it's a regional event, Kenya is now fully ready because you got the equipment with this.
You know, the beauty of this contract is that before, when you were hosting, we relied on maybe the international body or Africa body to give us equipment. But now, us having our own equipment, we can now be able even to start hosting our own events, creating our own events. Like, for example, cricket. Cricket, you have the tours that are there.
Yes.
But you can create your 4-nation events, whereby you invite different countries to come in and help you build up your players. And this is what we'll be doing now as Kenya Table Tennis. What we are looking at is having now, we'll be able to start hosting maybe 4-nation tournaments, where we invite different countries to come and play here in Kenya, which in the long run, it will give our players the needed exposure that is required.
Well, for the players, the needed exposure that's coming through, let's talk about the youngsters. Everyone's building up to the cast. Senegal will be hosting the Youth Olympics, the first time that an Olympic Games of any nature is going to be hosted on the African continent. So next year, that's a build-up to that. What's the work now being done, and the conversations that are there together with the National Olympic Committee of Kenya, because now the focus is on developing those youngsters for this year. Those were about 15, 16, such that by 2026, we know that a formidable squad we can have a formidable squad, those who can qualify and compete.
You know, the Youth Olympic Games will be next year. We know the next Olympic Games in America,
2028.
2028. Now, it doesn't mean that we start now to chase for preparation for next year's Youth Olympics. What we usually do is we start a long time. It is a continuous development pathway that we put our players. And that is what also the Olympic Committee has been doing here locally. We don't wait for the games to reach, then we start preparing teams. We start preparing them well in advance. We all know players go through a circle. You'll go through a circle as a junior player. Then you'll be pushed forward to being into the senior side. After the senior side, when your time is up, you'll be pushed on the side. You'll now decide which will be your next progress in terms of being a player.
Yeah.
If I've retired as a senior player, maybe this was my last time in the Olympics. What do I do after Olympics? I know I can't continue. Then I need to look for a different pathway. In short, for us, is that we have been building different pathways throughout. And that is why, even for us, even in Africa, is that the reason why we want to concentrate so much with the youth, with the sports in schools, in terms of table tennis in all African schools, is because we know nurturing of talent starts at a very young age. Table tennis is like gymnastics. You cannot put a 48-year-old person or somebody who is 38 years and you believe that they'll be the best in the world. They'll never be the best. They'll be the best losers that you've ever produced. So for you to be able to put talent, it must start with the young ones, with the juniors. Whether they win or whether they do not win. It is just that you have to learn how do you progress them from being toddlers to starting to play, and how do you encourage them to move on to the next level.
Now, the other thing is, our development collaborations. I know, for example, you mentioned Brian Mutua, who's currently the top Kenyan player. He received an Olympic Solidarity Scholarship and also he had an opportunity to train out in Denmark. These collaborations with some of the stronger nations, what's going on around the continent and the country at the moment?
With that one, we still have the partnerships with France, Germany, Japan, and also Denmark. So that partnership is still there. But previously, that partnership was more focused on the senior team. But what you want to do is you want to push that partnership down to the junior players. Right now, our focus will be turning to 99%, it will be on the junior players. Because it is those junior players who will be able to win. They'll be the ones who will be able to perform. You might be good, maybe you can be winning here in Kenya.
Yeah.
But our main target is not to see you winning here in Kenya. Our target is to see you winning outside Kenya. That is most important. So the partnerships that we have, those ones are still continuing. And like I had said, yes, we've done 21 million. Our target is to do 100 million by the end of this year. Because we've sorted out the equipment. We now need to sort out the playing side of it. Issues of air tickets, accommodation, all that. The government has played its part. It cannot do 100%. Because I believe right now in Kenya, there are over 100 sports federations that are registered. Now, you tell me at over 100 plus, how do you expect the government to fund each and every federation 100%?
I know it's very difficult. And actually, the Act ties the government to national team, representative teams only, so to speak.
Yes. But that is a discussion that has to take place. Like, we need to realize that government, even if the Act says that, we need to maybe relook at the Act itself. In my opinion, is that funding of sports bodies or federations has to be put in blocks. When I say blocks, is that if I'm funded by government for activities and my sport does not perform, then the following cycle, my money should be reduced.
Okay.
And if I do not perform again in the second cycle, then I need to be removed out of the funding. Now, what that means is that it will force us, even as federation heads, to make sure that our players win. Because unlike now, whether we win or you don't win, you are still funded by government. We'll still sleep on the doors of the ministry crying out for money. But it is wrong, because this money can be spread out well, because the development has to be seen. Development has to take place in the right way.
And so let's now take a look at that, because we know that this this is one of what everyone's talking about, the key activities now for the year 2025, especially around, one, the domestic scene, because also, getting people back into the core, into the venues where you're having table tennis, and also for the different representative teams.
For us as Kenya Table Tennis also, one of the main areas which we've had difficulties is that we do not have playing facilities. when you get a playing facility, you have to pay for the venue. Now that one also derails development of sport in table tennis. So for us this year, our major concern will be where do we get these playing venues that we can be able to work out so that we can have players to be able to go there and play. They need to be able to go and play because, you know, the more hours you put in training, the more better you become.
Yeah.
And it is not just in Nairobi. We are looking at getting facilities across the country. Good thing is that we've got, for example, St. Monica girls in Kitale and St. Joseph in Kitale. We've also got Highway Secondary School. These are just some of the partners who we've been working with because they have been able to give us scholarships for our students or players for the last 5 years. As we talk right now, we've got around 60 students, total of 60, who are on free scholarship from Form 1 up to 4. Now, for us, that is something that we still need to, we will continue pushing it. But in terms of moving forward, in terms of progression, in terms of this year, one is how do we improve on the rankings that we have internationally. And that means that we have to get venues for our players to be able to play anytime, where they can be able to go and play. With guaranteed venue, it becomes easy for Kenya Table Tennis to be able to have a vibrant national league to be set up. So that if a league is set up, then it is easy now to bring in sponsors to come on board. If sponsors come on board, then the sport now is able to grow.
And at the moment, looking at what you are talking about, because, you know, you've picked up something that, you know, you would not make friends with many federation people when you talk about, you know, cutting the funding. But we ensure that, you know, this, the sport attracts sponsorship, people who can come in and meet. They always say, first of all, let's meet the cost of making sure that our officials are paid and the people who are, you know, the entire ecosystem is taken care of, and where possible players, you know, movement costs are taken care of. What's the approach being done to see eventually the sport win itself, like they would say, win itself off government?
You know, one, we cannot run away from government. At the end of the day, It is our government. Government is you and me. So we can't run away from it. But we must work together with government. We must have a solution. It is like if you are my brother and you are in my house, we are in the same house. When our mother cooks food, me as your big brother, I go and eat all that food.
Your small brothers go and scrounge on you as one.
So the best thing to do would be, let's agree. This sufuria will be put here. Each one of us will be given a portion. If you are given ugali and the chicken and you are not able to finish, why should you be given the same portion next time?
It will be cut.
It will be cut. So it is the same also with sports. I know there are some things that have to be said the way it is. There are some discussions that we have to have. It might not be necessarily a good statement maybe with my colleagues, but I believe it is a statement that we all need to sit down and discuss it. Even them, even other federations, you might be at your best, but you might not be able to get that funding that is guaranteed. But if you have funding that is guaranteed and you're able to be told maybe at the beginning of the year, this is X amount we are giving you. And you'll need to account for this X amount in terms of how your performance is. And then every December, we are brought forward and there's a panel that you have to meet and you have to justify. I believe that is how it needs to be done.
A full audit, as they would say. We know that is something that we've got to give feedback to. Major events to look out for, table tennis-wise, for our teams?
For our teams, it will be the juniors. As we say here, we are building up towards Dakar. So this year, it will all be about the juniors. We have the junior championships, which will be taking place in Tunisia. We'll be able to know if our team will be able to travel. If they travel, that will be good. But apart from that, we are looking at maybe trying to get the team down to China for training. And this will be the junior players who will be going. And then at the same time, we have the World Table Tennis circuit, where we want to get most of our junior players also to start playing in those circuits, so that we start building them up in terms of the competitiveness of the event.
It's very interesting that you've mentioned China. We know China to be a very strong table tennis nation. Yes. What are the possible prospects? Just give us a background of that collaboration and how long the juniors will be out in China.
China, we are looking at sending the juniors there for at least a month of training. Now, with them being in China, we'll jump them maybe from China to another different country. There's also discussion, which I can't name right now, with a potential country. It's only that within the International Table Tennis Federation, there are elections that are coming up. So I don't want to start saying, and then it is taken like it was an election bribery that Kenya was being given. But there's a discussion which is advanced stage that apart from maybe sending the team to China, we might be able also to do a different country for the players to be trained there also.
The other thing is the development of match officials. This, everyone will talk about the coaches. We will talk about that. But there are those people who will be, sit around the tables. The match officials, very important for any country. If you're going to be competing even at the highest level, what's being done around that?
That one we've taken care of, like the course that we had 3 weeks ago. The trainer who came in, he came in and touched on the coaching side. He also touched on the match official aspect of it. Then at the same time, locally also we have a vibrant committee, for example, of referees that is being headed by James Sentau and Michael Mburu. They're the ones who have been also spearheading the development of match officials. And this one is done in phases, which is easy. In terms of organizing, that one is something that it has to be a hands-on. You can't just, you have to first start locally around the local events happening.
All right, very, very well. Andrew, thank you very much. So if you're the next event, conversation that, everyone, if you were to invite somebody for a table tennis event, where, what tuambie ni most probably, which date, where, so that we can, come watch and starting, all this new equipment that's coming from Stag.
If I was to invite you for a table tennis event, Wahome, right now Kenya table tennis is hungry. It needs a sponsorship. It needs money. I might not be able to necessarily invite you for a table tennis event if we do not have a venue. So what I'll be inviting you is I'll be inviting you to put money into the account so that I'm able to see your money, and then from there we can work together in terms of building up a sport. Most of the times people look at us as officials to build it up, but we cannot build it up on our own. We need the support and partnership of everyone so that we can move together. Because if you do not support the development, if you do not come in on board with whatever you're able to do in terms of expertise, then it will be difficult for me to be able to do it. At times when I walk, and I hope that when I say that we've gotten the Stag sponsorship, people will not be stopping me on the streets and asking me for a table tennis table. Kenya table tennis does not produce tables. We import tables, we clear tables, we pay duty on the tables. So it is unfair when you ask us to give you a table. It is never that way. We need you also to give us something back so that we can be able to grow the sport for our children.
Very, very well. So it's not about what KTTA can do for you. It is what you can do for KTTA.
Let me correct it, to paraphrase it correctly, is what are we able to do together? Yes.
Well, you've heard it from Andrew Muribo, who's the president of the Kenya Table Tennis Association. A packed calendar because there's activities that they must do. But right now, the most important thing is they have the right equipment that has come through. Thank you very much, Andrew. Have a good day. Yes. Well, we'll be taking a short break and going back to the FKF Premier League highlight. Tusker versus Police, the top of the table clash over the weekend. And after that, let's talk to the Kenya Morans, and they will be traveling to Tripoli, Libya next week, where they will be competing in FIBA AfroBasket qualifiers. They will be facing Angola, they will be facing Guinea, they will be facing Tunisia. And what did they learn from the first round qualifiers? Well, the 4 bowlers, 2 of them, actually 2 bowlers, will be joining us. Derek Ogechi and Ian Otieno, and their coaches, Robbie and Anset Wafula, will be coming on set. Let's take that break and we'll be back.
Na umetawala mpaka sasa vijana hao wa Tusker. Fabian Adekinyi Bartes, Rano Gam Wesley, imerudi tena Fabian Adekinyi Bartes. Leo Fabian Adekinyi Bartes leo kwa mara nyingine tena ameipiga nje huko. Fabian baada ya wantu nzuri kati yake na Rano Gam Wesley Rabok, akaitaka na akapewa. Fabian Adekinyi Bartes kaenda Sege Mnege kule. Ilikuwa ni link up bora kati yake na Rano Gam Wesley Rabok, kwa mchezaji wa pili. Mlinzi wa kulia Collins Odhiambo na mlinzi wa kushoto wote wana kadi ya njano. Baada anatoka langoni na kupangua bado. Daniel Musamali amekosa. Musamali tena nguvu mpya. Daniel Musamali Dante Kapa alienda juu. Alvin Mangeni akaondosha Alex Onchwari, lakini akapangua Brano Ponjo Omondi. Daniel Musamali gula kushoto, akapaisha tu jia mtamba. Je, atatumia ufundi wake Abu Domar, nakataa Brano Ponjo Omondi. Amna penalty, naambiwa anyanyuke kule Kevin Ouma. Abu Domar tena Marvin Omondi na Bwire amemtoka wa kwanza. Uzuri Mavo cheza wantu na Abu Domar. Wow, play bora kabisa. Metoka nje. Ni kona au ni goal kick? Ni goal kick. Abu Domar free kick maridadi la kapangua Bran Oyande Opondo, kinupigaji wake Abu Domar kapangua tu kwa bora wake kipa yule Bran Opondo Oyande. Jojo Nyango Rako Dizo pembeni, huku Justin Omwando Nyangwara Maasai ameupiga kofi tena kumtafuta Dennis Okoth. Anaingia uzuri Dennis Okoth! Dennis Okoth baba! Ilete tena! Shabana ya kumaliza mwendo kabisa. Goli lake la pili la msimu. Maumivu ya kizidi, tafuta usaidizi wa Dennis Okoth. Jazz alipiga kibao outfoot bora. Justin Omwando Nyangwara akapambana mbele ya beki yule Bernard Ondiek, akashinda mpira wa kwanza na kuicheza ndani ya kamba zile na kutetemesha kamba za hapa Machakos. Dennis Okoth finish ya mshambulizi kabisa, amemzidi nguvu beki, akasema mimi ndio Dennis Okoth, akiwapa zawadi ya Valentines wana Rangers. Baada ya kujiunga na Mafande Kenya Police, amerejea dirisha dogo la usajili. Shami Mwinyi Kibwana, Shami Mwinyi Kibwana, usishike. Asanta Bongo Lala anafunga goli hapa. Shami Mwinyi Kibwana baada ya kumegewa pasi mufti ile, goli la kusawazisha akifunga Shami huyu Mwinyi Kibwana. Wamerudi pembeni, alipambana Felix Oluoch Mboya. Angalia space aliyokuwa nayo mbele yake Shami Mwinyi Kibwana. Walikuwa wapi walinzi wale? Marco Kola ndio Mwanza anarudi. Jojo Nyango Rako Dizo hayupo kabisa. Time and space alikuwa nayo mchezaji Shami Mwinyi Kibwana na kuwapa goli la kusawazisha. Baada hapo Bongo Lala asanta. Shami Mwinyi Kibwana amewarejesha mchezoni Posta Rangers. Mambo ingia tena Felix Oluoch Mboya, napambana, ametoa pasi ya goli. Combination nzuri tena Felix Oluoch Mboya, nafasi na muda tena Brano Tiano Chonjo, Chari ameotea. Wanapata nafasi kweli kweli, lakini Chari alikuwa amezidi. Shami Mwinyi Kibwana ililetwa ndani uzuri, very tight call, kwa amefunga kina kakataa. Dennis Okoth amepata mali, kina anasema hamna foul hapo. Brano Tieno Chonjo pembeni, Felix Oluoch Mboya natumia spaces za pembeni kule. Felix Oluoch Mboya, Brian Otieno Chonjo, run bora kabisa. Felix Oluoch Mboya, kati Swekesa, kati Swekesa na wapo uongozi wanaposta baada ya run bora pembeni huko. Samuel Molo Pamzo anapata tabasamu kwa mara ya kwanza. Kati Swekesa akifunga goli lake la pili la pembeni. Kazi kubwa ameifanya Felix Oluoch Mboya, akacheza 1-2 na Brian Otieno Chonjo, akacheza ya kwanza akaokoa, ya pili akaijaza ndani. Mchezaji yule Kati Swekesa walikuwa wengi eneo lake Elvis Osoko Chieng, baada angeicheza na Ishami Mwinyi Kibwana, lakini akaimaliza mwenyewe tu. Kati Swekesa baada ya kuokoa ya kwanza. Maxwell Mulili Muchesia. Posta Rangers wapo mbele, kishangilia kweli kweli kwa raha.
Anasalia sana Donald Ange. Sami Mbuye komanda milito ndani kitu. Eli asiache. Ambe subiri kwanza. Subiri. Ni jambo langu. Madhara stand up. Sami Mbuye komando ameifanya kazi nzuri. Kuna pambana Brian Uhuru kaleta cross. Sami Mbuye free header kabisa. Walikuwa wamebaki tu Philemon peke yake na Alfonso Mija katikati kama mabeki kati. Mpira kwa wapita juu, akapata free header. Elias Echa akajaza mpira kwenye kamba. Hapo na haiko vizuri. Enoch Morrison anaileta ndani huku kichwa. Oh! Wamerudi. Alfonso Mija anaendelea pale pale alipoachia. Sasa ililetwa uzuri na Enoch Morrison, alikuwa peke yake, wamekwenda kumkaba mwingine na aliyefunga ni tofauti kabisa. Alfonso Mija, lango hili ndipo alipofunga goli la usifa. Alfa Unyango sasa anazunguka kweli kweli eneo la kati, pembeni kwa Samuel Kapeni, anakwana na Daniel Mukokeli. Kapeni bado na mali, wamekwenda chini. It was undeniable. Atia chini kabisa. Samuel Kapeni alikuwa amemzidi maarifa. Yes, that's a good call. Alimganda kabisa, kumshika paka na kiuno, kamungukia na penalty. Enoch Morrison, jukumu zito lipo mbele yake, atawanyanyua mashabiki. Anaambia subiri kwenye sehemu yako, itamtoa timing. Enoch Morrison from Accra, Ghana with love. Mwezi wa upendo, Enoch Morrison anagawa upendo. Toka Ghana ile amwaletea masamsam na mahamham goli lake la kwanza. Tazama kosa ambalo lilifanya beki Daniel Mkok. Alikuwa kosa ambalo alikuwa anastahili kulifanya, lakini kawa punished kabisa kutoka kwake. Enoch Morrison amekuwa na mchezo mzuri na amecheza tuta kwa ubunifu na kwa hali ambayo imemwacha Robert Mboya bila
And welcome back to Sports Check on this Monday morning. It is the 10th day of February 2025. Yes, our sign language interpreter is Ann Wangeshi, bottom right of your screen. Now, we're just getting into a second conversation. The Kenya Morans, they're in the qualification process for the FIBA AfroBasket 2025. It's going to be hosted in Angola, but the qualifiers will be taking place next week in Libya, Kenya, at pulled together with Tunisia, Angola, who are the hosts of the tournament. They've already qualified as hosts. And also there's Guinea. And there was the matches they played last year from Group E, the first round of qualifying, another 3 to determine which 2 teams from that pool join Angola for the tournament. We'll be getting into that conversation, but just a review of what we are taking a look at news-wise today. World Radio Day will be celebrated on the 13th of February 2025. At the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, we have got we've got about 13 radio services here, and today, the celebrations for the World Radio Day, it's all World Radio Week here at the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. The celebrations will be starting, and the KBC radio team from 11 a.m. They're going to be having their, starting off the celebrations so that you get to know all about Radio and KBC and the stories of this broadcaster. And there is a prayer service at the Bomas of Kenya for the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and this is ahead of his departure to Addis Ababa, where he is one of the candidates for the chairmanship of the African Union Commission. And also happening today, and this is at the National Police College Embakasi A campus, is that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is launching a systems review of the operations of the National Police Service, and this is ideally to address and identify any systemic weaknesses and loopholes conducive to corruption and unethical conduct in Kenya's police operations. The event, which brings together the top leadership of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, including the chairperson, Dr. David Oginde. There is the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Douglas Kanja, and also the Chief Executive Officer, who's also the Secretary of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Mr. Abdi Mahmoud. Our reporter at that event is Abdi Aziz Hashim. So part of what we're looking at in our news cycle today. Well, right now, let me introduce the gentlemen who have been tasked with ensuring that Kenya makes it through to the Afro Basket at 2025. In studio with me, I'll start. On my immediate left, we've got one member of the coaching team, Robert Oyugi. Coach, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And also we've got 2 members of the playing team, Derek Ogech. Derek, how are you? Good to see you, and good to see you back running. I know 2 years ago everyone thought the story was gone. We'll be coming to that. And Ian Oching making his debut for the Morans. Glad to be called up. You will be telling us, about all of this. And then we've got another member of the coaching staff, Anset Wafula. Anset, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
And Anset, I'll start with you because there's one member, one person who would be in your team, but he lost his father. We're talking about Ariel Carl. The sister also, Felmas, to play member of the Lioness team. They lost their father, who was the Defense Forces RSM, and you would have known that, the late Elijah Koranga. Just give us that, as even we task you with giving the condolences to the Koranga family, and also Ariel, the man called the doctor, and his sister.
Thank you on behalf of the Morans and the entire sports team in the country. We really send our condolences to the Koranga's family for this sad moment. It's tough times for the family, and we stand with them. From the DFSM was a very good man. He really supported sports, and he encouraged everyone. Him himself was at the front, leading, supporting, and this is also a sad moment. In fact, after even if his retirement, it affected most people, because sometimes you don't believe a good person can get to that age and still go home. So every day I see people being nominated, being given position in the government after 60. Why is it that this man cannot be retained? Because of his good job, his good work that he's doing to the military. But whatever God decided, we're sorry to the family, and we pick it up from there.
Oh, thank you very much, because Ansett played for Ulinzi, played for the military side, so, and that was way back. I mean, if we were to go back, it would be 20 years and he had developed a name MVP. So Ian and Derek, if you hear me call him that, just know we are from that generation. We are still the people who write things with papers, so we don't use fonts to do a lot of things. We'll be taking a short break and then come back and have a full conversation, about the first round of qualifiers that they played last year and what to look out for in the coming qualifiers that will be played next week after this short break.
From the bliss of new beginnings to the trials of commitment, this is a celebration of resilience, passion, and the power of togetherness. Join us as we unravel real-life stories, because every journey deserves to be cherished, for better, for worse, on KBC Channel 1.
Katakata hizo vitunguu nyanya moja mbili tatu, alafu then leta majimaji unaongeza hivyo makuni inaanza kuwa rahisi. Acha buda.
Hata amekuandikia ka message hapa inasema Dia Ole Matope.
Hiyo ndia naitangwa na watu wa simu peke yake. Nimepata na wewe watoto. Alafu akaolewa na serikali.
Nakwambia luku ya leo. Hii hatari sana buda.
Na hii yako kwani umeconfuse?
Buda, fungua macho. Angalia tuna 3D.
Pindi tunapowasha vifaa vyetu, tunapata fursa ya kutangamana na wasikilizaji wetu.
Karibu sana thĩinĩ wa tabarĩra ya Rwiga.
Tunapeperusha utangazaji uliobobea katika habari,
Nĩ ũndũ wa macio na mangĩ maingĩ,
burudani,
Ni hali ya tukoragwo tukĩigua nyĩmbo mwaki nyĩmbo hoda,
na hamasisho la kiroho. Usiachwe nyuma. Jiunge nasi kwa safari ya kufana katika 99.5 FM. Solo FM.
Wellness is important in our daily lives, so that instead of just surviving, we should be thriving.
Ways to prevent a stroke or heart attack is for you to know what conditions you have by regular checkup. People don't know they have hypertension. They don't know they have diabetes.
I was pre-diabetic. I was afraid of getting lifestyle diseases because I come from a family that has lifestyle diseases.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
And welcome back to Sports Check this Monday morning. And it's all conversations around sport, even as we start the World Radio Day celebrations right here at the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. So expect a lot from our radio team. But right now, back to the basketball conversation. And in studio with me, just to reintroduce my guests, on my immediate left is Robert Oyugi, who's the coach of the Kenya Morans. We've got Derek Ogechi, who plays for the Morans. We've got Ian Ochieng, plays for the Morans, and Anset Wafula, who's part of the coaching team for that. And let me start with Coach Robert, and let's talk about the first 3 matches that you played when the qualification started in Group E, playing against Angola, Tunisia, and Guinea. Just start off with the match against Tunisia. I know at one point Kenya had tried to match it, but at this level, from what we've seen over the past 2 years, with the growth of the sport in Africa, how did you see the Morans react to to the Tunisian side?
Basically, what I normally say is the level of high performance in those games is so fast, because everything moves very quick in terms of players positioning, marking, knowing who is their key players. So while the games are playing, we kept our focus on trying to catch up most of the time, and some of those teams, when they're ahead of you 10, 20, it's very difficult for them to let you come close, because their level of execution is very high. And I think by that time we didn't have our full squad in, maybe because of injuries, others delay, and then even bringing the team together to go for that game, it was a bit tussle. But they still give a good show, and there was a fighting spirit on it. But they came out winners, and we really tried to catch up, but at one point it just, we had to just let go of it. And that's part of the game. That's part of the game. So we only need to prepare for the next ones and see.
But yeah, so let me just mention in that match, our standout player for the Morans, Alberto Dero, really did stand out in that Tunisia game. 25 points. If I just go through this, Griffin Ligara, picked up the 5 rebounds. Odero with his assists, and really pushing the team. How then do you try? Everyone says in basketball, somehow, eventually it happens that the 5 have got to build around somebody somewhere. Somehow it happens. We saw it with the Jordan and the Bulls today. We'll see LeBron and the Lakers, or Curry at the Warriors. There's something around that.
Yeah, when you talk about that, you're talking about that core. In any team or any like national team, you have people who can score. We are not all blessed the same. Ansen can be a good shooter, he can be a very good penetrator. So we have to incorporate all that. When you choose your core, that means you have at least 3 people who can score 20 points. But again, we cannot only look at the offensive side. There are 3, yes, they can score 20 points, that's 60 points. But can they stop someone else on the other team who can score 35? So we have to strike the balance. So for us Morans, we are looking at first, can we get a stop before we start thinking of our key players? Because defense is all of us. All of us have to come in, all have to believe in what we want to do. The core, what you're talking about, the core is also key to us, because we know if we have this system, we know that Ocheng is going to have the ball at this position. So every time we want more touching on him and him, the rest we can just task them to be like, okay, get in for rebound, or help us maybe block some shots, or help us just run up and down, and help them to get the easy shots. So all that is done in preparation on how we want to go and attack the game. Because the other teams, as I've told you before, it's high performance. Yeah, it's high performance. The people who are playing just same as us, with the way we have professional, the likes of Taylor, him, they play professional. And it's different, and it's tough. So the way you give offense, good, but someone will mark you because it's a professional. Yeah, so they get a scouting report, they say, hey, Ongechi, what does he do strong? When they come, they want to remove 2 things. If he's doing 5, they want to do 2 things. So even us, it's the same. If we are playing Tunisia, if we are playing Angola, Carlos Moraes, we have to, he's a good player, we have to minimize him to a certain level. We can't stop him fully, but we have to give him a limit of saying, we are going to give you this shot, but this one, no. Take away something from it. And that's how we build a philosophy in winning and developing that culture that we want, that core, the key players that you want, how you want to play. That makes it easy for all of us. It makes it easy for the coaches to know that, now we are okay because this is what is running, this is what we are stopping, this is what we are getting. Yeah.
So, Ansed, let me come to you, from the coaching side and look at Angola, because he's mentioned, Carlos from Angola. Angola, a 30-point game, they won 88-58. Then Kenya went on to beat Guinea, and that's what putting Kenya in contention for qualifying for the, Afrobasket. Just look at these 2 teams and what you picked up from them from the first round of matches played last year.
Okay, the game against Angola, we took time to adjust, to get into the game. Like, we know about, we hustle, we don't just let easy things on us. But that time, we really took time. I think the first match against Tunisia was still in our minds. And most players were trying to, they didn't understand how we lost to a team like Tunisia. Now, when we're coming in, by the time they were realizing about Angola, that we can have this match and we can take this game, we're already down with like 10, 12 points, so we're chasing the lead. And through that, when they started hustling, you know, automatically sometimes you're gonna get into fouls, you know, player gonna get tired, and you're gonna try to bring in some other players. And as the coach has said, at that time we had injuries, and so some of the players, people like Ogechi, they had to rest. You know, at any given moment, they had to rest because of the tough of the match. So that is, again, the lapses that we corrected when we came to the Guinea game. So from the Guinea, with the Guinea match, we picked from the word go. We started hustling. We were there for the win. Nothing else, nothing shorter than the win. And we got it at the end of the day. So going into these other games, like on 21st against Tunisia, we're going to pick it from where we left with Guinea. Yes, we're going to pick it from where we lost to Tunisia because we didn't pick it from the beginning. We picked it, as coach has said, towards the end. And that is why we lost the match. Yes.
Well, let me talk to you, Derek. Let me bring you here, because you top scored for Kenya in that game against Angola. The second quarter, you lost by a point. Just give us an outlook of that. I mean, how those, the first half of that game was the first 20 through your mind before, Angola came back and decided to blow the wind out of your sails.
I think for us, it was just a matter of fact of just trying to make sure that we get opportunity to win and make sure that we're pushing ourselves, because at this point, we just want to make sure that we get a win under our belt before going into the second qualifiers. And that was what was very important to us.
Just taking a look at that match against, Angola, and then getting into the next one against Guinea. What were the key things that, you did pick up as players? Because I know you hold your little meetings behind, we call them the kamkundis, away from the coaching staff, and say, look, we don't want the noise from Robert or from Anson, but we really have got to deliver on this.
Definitely. After losing to Angola, especially by a widespread, we knew the next day that we had to come out no matter what. Like, from the first guy to the last guy, we had to make sure that we're doing things to win the game, physically, mentally, whatever we needed to prepare for the last day, the last game. We made sure that we did it, and then we held ourselves accountable. So if someone had to score, they needed to score. If they needed to play defense, they needed to play defense. So then we're just holding ourselves accountable, making sure that the third game, the Guinea game, that we came out with the win.
Let me come to you, Ian, and getting this call-up to play for the Kenya Morans. What's the first thing that went through your mind when someone said, are you willing to put on this jersey?
Yeah, I was very excited. This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time now. So just having the opportunity was a great blessing, and just being able to represent my country, my family, and just come join a new program and a new team, and just go out there, give us a chance to qualify for AfroBasket this summer. It was a great, amazing opportunity. Looking at it, and when you born and brought up in the U.S., you get this opportunity to come in here. You meet like Derek, there's Tyler, everyone's there, Griffin, and a week. I mean, we can talk about all the players on the roster. What was the first conversations that you had with these people who've been in the setup? Yeah, so I've been in contact with Derek and also Albert for some time now through social media. So just having their guidance and pretty much just learning more about the program. And I think just having them being proactive and reaching out and being willing to bring me onto the team has been really nice, and just helped boost my confidence even more coming here and performing. Well,
they haven't told you how there's a whole thing about Kenyan teams. They'll tell you, the fact that we speak Swahili, the fact that they just get in there and speak in a language no one knows what they're saying. But let me just come to you, Derek, because there's a story. You suffered an injury, a couple of years back, and getting back was a real, it's an injury that has put, some players, their careers come to an end. The ACL injury that you got and the recovery process and getting back your form. Just take us through that story.
So actually it's funny. It was after AfroBasket in 2021 when I came back, when I didn't get the chance to play. I was at school And I was driving to the basket, and I landed funny, and my knee just blew out. Everything went ACL, MCL, PCL, everything. So the whole knee was gone. So the recovery process was very lengthy. I was out. I didn't play basketball for 5 months, and I had 2 surgeries, actually. So I had the first one, and then after 5 months, I had some cartilage left in there, so that needed to get taken out. So I had a second surgery, and then it was a long process after that. I think it took another few months until I got to play again, and then I didn't even feel great until after a whole college season. That's when my knee felt perfectly fine going into my first professional career last year. So it was a long process. I think it was a lot of treatment by myself with the training staff at my university, and then just getting back to confidence. I think it's a lot. I think that's why many people don't come back from injuries like that, is because their confidence, they don't think they have the ability to do what they did before.
Well, let me come and talk about that, because Ansett, this is now where you've got to look, especially going into the next week, and knowing the kind of the growth of speed that we've seen, a lot of increased speed in the sport, and how you keep your players fit and make sure that the risk of injury is out. So Ansett and Robert, you can put on that.
Yeah, the good thing that we've had after the first qualifiers is we only rested for 3 months, and the players have been training. They started training once a week. They went to Ngong, doing their fitnesses, trying to get to where they needed to be. And as we came towards the December holidays, they started training twice a week. We didn't wait for the government and the federation to bring us together, because we knew what we want and they knew what they want. And that was a very good thing. When, as the technical, when you see that kind of a thing. In fact, the players that we have now are the ones who've been even challenging us. Yeah, like, coach, we're here. All of us are here, and we have to keep this going. Yeah, when we need training more than twice, coach, we have to go to, get this, we need to hit the gym. They've been doing that, and really it's encouraging. And now, as we go to this tournament, up to now, I cannot say that we got an injury that can really, we have a doubt to any of the players. Even him coming back, he's been doing well, Ogechi. Everybody, even us coaches, were discussing about him after what he had and what he went through. But when he came back, we've seen somebody even different before, even he had that injury. And has even that coming back like that has encouraged other players, and really there's a lot of morale in the camp. Yes.
Making them athletes fast, and having to push this down to the local club, to the local leagues, the club scene, because this is where, for the players who are based in Kenya, the push that you want them to have throughout, such that they're fit and they follow a regime that can be absorbed by everyone, and it reflects at the national team.
First of all, I can add on what Ansett has just said. They themselves wanted it, they prepared themselves. Because I believe if you're an athlete, you always have to be ready, whether you're off season or you have to only put the time and say, I'm going to rest for 1 week or 2 weeks, because the people we're dealing with, they are not amateurs, they are professional athletes.
True.
So I don't need to start looking for you, telling you, you need to go run. No, you know what is at stake. You know how many of our younger players are looking up to you. You might not see it, but someone is watching you. Every day the games, the people are watching you. If you are unfit, the whole world will know that this guy has gone because he's unfit. So the only thing, as we say, is the most important thing is preparation. And I believe we prepared well. Yeah, and we have 11 more, I can say 10 days more to even push further, And by the fact that our league has also started, some of these players are playing into the clubs within, and they have a program as well, which is already active because the league is on. So the only thing we're trying to capture is creating a culture and a system that will work for us in that couple of days, because we already have the likes of Taylor, Odeira, as you said. All of them are ready. All of them. It's just coming together, put our minds back again, put the mind that we want to win every game when we step there, and that's all. Yeah, that's all it takes, and I'm sure it's going to be great.
Oh, very interesting. Now, one of the things that that has been picked up in our local sport, and we saw it happen, I mean, from 2019 going into 2021, even as Kenya made it to the AfroBasket back then, is video analysis. And Ian, Derek, this is normal for you, having gone through the American system where hours and hours of video are analyzed. Ian, let me just start with you and how you've been taking a look, for example, at the video replays of Angola, Guinea, Tunisia, and how you try and analyze the players that they have, and also trying to get the intelligence around the opponents you'll be facing next week.
Yeah, so last year when the team was playing in Tunisia, I've been watching live, and since then I've encountered all those games on YouTube, watched them over and over, breaking them down, and just seeing how they were able to take advantage of our weaknesses and seeing what strengths that the other teams have had. So between Tunisia, Guinea, and Angola, and then just understanding what I can bring to the table, not only individually, but also towards the team, and how I can add on to the team's effort in going forth and exposing their weaknesses as well. So, and then on top of that, also understanding my teammates, their strengths, and seeing how I can fit into that, and just overall building up their strengths throughout the game.
And let me just come to you, Derek. Looking at it, I know you were deep in the heart of it. When you watch yourself play and you try and analyze it vis-a-vis what the coaches have been telling you anytime they call for a timeout, or it's when you've got the breaks in between the quarters, how do you review your game?
Definitely for me, I think as a whole team, I don't think we performed the way that we wanted to perform, obviously. Only getting one win, but I think looking back, I think we can all take our game to a different level. I think also, like throughout this past year and in the preparations for this qualifiers now, I think everyone's game has gotten way better. I think we've elevated, we've come together, and we know what we need to do. I think just looking back at those videos,
that that is up there. Yes. And Brian, you could just keep this rolling and
in space, and everyone play one-on-one basketball. They help kick if you have the line score. But all these things, I think we still have time to just focus on that and give them a picture of how we want to win. But out of us, for us, we are going to give them, but it's up to them to prove, to show that we've understood, we're on the same page with you, we want to win, and we go get the win. We need only 3 wins. I'm sure we can get them with the talent we have. Yeah.
Oh, talking about the rotation, Derek, have they increased the number of suicides you're doing on the court?
No, luckily we're in good enough shape, so we don't have to.
So ideally, from what the coach is saying, and actually, getting to take a look at, watching, those that reel from the Kenya versus Egypt game, how have you been working as a team to make sure that these little gaps are there, and you've got the patience. You've got 24 seconds on the shot clock, so you don't have to do it in 10. So just how are you trying to get around that?
Like Coach was talking about, like we're just getting to know each other way better. I think time spent, especially me. Before I was coming from outside in for a couple days, but now I've been here with the guys. Now we're learning each other. Now we know, all right, Albert likes the ball here, Dio likes the ball over there. Like, just those little things make a big difference in the long run, because now, all right, someone hasn't got a shot in this many possessions, all right, let's give them a shot now. So then now we're flowing. Everyone knows, all right, this is your role, let's do it well, like do it to the best of your ability. And I think that's what's gonna help us in the long run.
Ian, from what you've been picking up, because you've come in here, you get to watch, the local, the local sides playing as the league is continuing, because that's why, some of the players who are off season, some with Thunder, KPE, all that. What's we've been picking about, to make sure that you get together with the rest of the Morans?
Yeah, I think like adding on to what Derek has said, just like understanding where everyone is like best on the court, what reads to make, and just like executing not only the plays, but just also like our system and our concept to the best of my ability. And then also in that in itself, adding on, like I'm still like a rookie, a newcomer here, so I'm not looking to be taking 1,000 shots or stuff like that. I'm looking to bring energy, on both sides of the ball. And then, you know, if I have an open shot, just executing, making high percentage shots. So just understanding how our whole system operates and just inserting that myself.
The mental aspect of this, and this is, I want to hear from which one of you. I know at times the pressure may come in and suddenly you see the teams are fouling out. Coach, how are you able to, how are you working around? Let me start with the players. What do you work around to ensure you don't, fall into that trap where eventually it's 5 on the board and anytime there's a foul, the opponents have to go to the line?
I think, especially for the player side of it, it's just like using our fouls as a tactic, like not fouling too much, but also at the same time doing enough to where no one's getting an easy basket. Or now we're spreading the fouls around, like, so say if I have 2 fouls, make sure I don't get the 3rd one, so someone's rotating and helping up and picking up a foul for me. So basically, like, everyone just knowing their job.
Ian, how do you work around this? What's the thing that you picked up and known how to, such that you don't manage this, team fouls don't, blow out early in a half?
Yeah, I think just like using my advantages, like such as size. If I'm going to be guarding someone that's quicker than me, like a small guard or something like that, making sure I'm more so containing than trying to bait them or just picking up petty fouls and just like beating people to the spot. And I think also communication overall on the defensive end, just making sure we're rotating, because if we're doing correct rotations, then we should be able to get high percentage contests.
Well, let's talk about this answer. And I've been looking at what the nations in Africa are doing. I'll pick 2 of them. South Sudan, okay, naturally those guys are long, tall. All of them would be 6 something. We're talking about people over 2 meters tall. On average in the team. The other team is the Nigerians, who tend to pick up a lot of their players from the US. And we're also seeing teams, I think, Tunisia, Algeria, they look at the French-based players, bringing them in. Are you able to, balance out such our body sizes? Because at times we don't have the biggest of guys, but you're able to contain most of these people who are 2 meters tall plus.
With every size you have, there's an advantage and disadvantage to it. Now, those guys, what helps us is we are quicker on our feet. And what you do is they're slower when they get back to the defense. They're slower to react, when we're attacking them on offense. So basically, and we put pressure too, because they like getting comfortable because of the size and height. So that is why we put pressure from every time where there's a ball, where the ball is, there's always pressure. And if you look for example, the game against, we played against Nigeria. There's a match we played against Nigeria back there, and Ogechi, there's a big guy who decided to take Ogechi, and Ogechi was not the point guard at that particular moment. But what did we do? We adjusted by Ogechi bringing the ball. So by the first 3 minutes of the game, the guy was out. There's nothing he could do, and he was one of the best players. By the time he realized that Ogechi is not the guy he needed to take in the game, Ogechi has already taken him. Gio had already done damage on him. And it was an easy way for us to win the Nigeria game. So what we do as coaches, that is now what we read for the players out here. To know who's going to come in to adjust to this height, who's going to come in to adjust to this size. And 2, the player themselves in there, they look and they say, man, let me take this guy. You take this other guy. And that is a good thing to us.
Yeah, if I can add on that, there isn't too much pressure on us. Sometimes I believe when we get in, we know that you can play. So the number one thing is, for us, we're looking for is adjusting. You say they are tall, but the way for me I look at defense and how I want my players to defend is by heart. Yeah, you know the strong point of this person, he has done it once, twice. Do something else. And I also get the point when you say, when necessary to foul, you foul. It's not a game that it's part of the rule. Everyone has 5 fouls. If he's dominating you too much, take 1 good foul. Then for us, you can tell you, okay, now you have 2 fouls. You switch with Ian, mark this other guy, Ian, get another 1 foul from him if he's too tough on you. But I believe defense starts with you. Lazima uipende kwanza. Kama uipendi, you can't play it. You'll be having excuse, coach is beating. No, You have 5 fouls, defend him well. You're a professional. You know, take away something from him. If he has 3 things doing well, take away 2. Then he has 1. Then we switch again. Another person takes all of the 3. You know, so it's the coach is saying, it's adjustment and seeing how the game goes. Because I believe every quarter I would want them to score 25 points. If we can't get to 25 points, that means we are going to have a seesaw game. You know, each quarter 10 minutes, let's target 25 points. The next quarter, if it's 4-4, let it be 4-4. You know, so we keep the game as we watch the score. And all we can do is adjusting. You're not doing well, or you're tired, go out. You're playing well, we keep you there. You know, yeah. So it's all that. Yeah.
Well, very interesting. Now, already so, now the target, we know that you have been set. 25 points. So, let me just come down to this. And welcome back to Sports Check, and we apologize for the technical hitch that was co-op transmission. Our engineers, they've worked and made sure that we're back onto the transmission. My name is Daniel Wahome, and we are finalizing this conversation about basketball as the Kenya Morans will be traveling next week to Tripoli, Libya. Well, they'll be playing in the FIBA AfroBasket qualifiers. They are in Group E, lying third at the moment, and their opponents are Guinea, Angola, and also Tunisia. Angola have already qualified as the hosts of the competition. And in studio with me, conversation that we're having, we've got Coach on my immediate left, Coach Robert Oyugi. We've got Derek Ogechi, who is a member of the Morans playing squad, and also on the roster is Ian Ochieng, who's making his debut for the national team, and Anset Wafula is a member of the coaching staff. And Derek, we come to you, and looking at this whole, the whole story is about game management and working with the players. At times, how you up the pace. Take the pace. If you've got to go for a fast break, then you can break at that point, or if you've got to build up, making the passes up the arc all around that. How you do it, that's for you. And also Ian.
Every game is different, obviously. Depends on the flow of the game, if guys are making shots, if the other team's not scoring. So I think game management is minute by minute, second by second, honestly. Everyone got 24-second shot clock, so we just tried our best to, try to get stops every single time, rebound one time, like make sure we boxing out, rebound once, they get one shot up, and then we go. And if it's a missed shot, usually we're pushing in transition or trying to get a quick basket. And if they score, we want to make sure we come down to score, so we run a set or a play to make sure that we're equaling it out. So I think game management that way. Also, when teams go on runs, they have to call timeout. The opposite team has to call timeout. So managing the game that way so you could change something. And then also, most teams have different defenses. So they blitz the ball screen, switch the ball screen, or they just hard hedge. So different things like that change the game and manage the game differently. And then putting different people in different spots, obviously, will help you on the offensive end. So I think that's the different game managements that have been going around.
Ian, you've been called up as a rookie at times. You've got to mention the conversations you do. When on the bench, you act as, as supplementary eyes to your coaching staff. How do you take a look at how you manage, a game, or if you're called in now to take up a player, how you try and adapt to that situation?
Yeah, so I think, like you're saying, like even being on the bench, I can even be like communicating to my team and helping manage the game that way. Just keeping everyone like in the same mental headspace, even communicating from the bench, shouting when we should be trying to push the ball aggressively. Then as I come in the game, bringing 100% energy, even though I'll be subbing in for somebody, giving them a break, but I should be bringing in even more energy that they had out there so we can keep it pushing throughout the whole game. And then just like understanding, like Derek was saying, like, basketball's a game of matchup, a game of runs. So, if you're able to get a bucket, offensive end, and then knowing that if I apply high defensive pressure right after you score, even like full court, to just force a turnover or something like that, just managing the game and making sure that we're controlling the pace, whether it's fast, slow, and making the other team feel that they have to keep up with us and stay with the pace that we're trying to promote.
Well, let's talk about the local scene and the effect, because Kenya is how would I describe it? Kenya is a demanding country. The people of Kenya demand, and there is something at the moment known as the Nairobi City Thunder effect. Yes. Playing in the Basketball Africa League qualifiers, playing against some of the best clubs on the continent, qualifying for that. Coach, what's the effect? I'll start with you.
First, I would say is how we manage our players. That's the only thing that I can say, because with what Thunder did, we're expected to rise to even greater level. But what we are forgetting again is you have to bring all this talent from everywhere, some from Thunder, and get them together to be a unit, And me, I believe we need to first be as a unit and know the goal and the vision of how far we want to go with this, because these are the same players who are also part of us. But again, I'm not sure if all of them are going to be ready for that day, because I have 11 there. I don't know who's going to get injured. So it's not an excuse, but me, what I believe in is you just prepare and believe in what we have prepared for. And then, as Ian is saying, it's just energy. You bring positive, and then the rest will ride on it. Wins will come when we're disciplined enough, when we put enough energy, and when we listen to each other. Listening to each other, did you hear what Ongechi told you while you're on court? You know, communication and listening to the player. What has he told you when you're in? Because I might not have the time to tell you that. Maybe I'd already called all my timeouts. You know, they should be themselves, the unity should be able to make them first communicate before I call a timeout in and maybe answer, say we have to adjust ABC. So them, they must want it more. Mine, if I don't perform with answer, the next thing I'll hear is I'm being demoted. I'll be happy with what we have achieved. Wins and losses come. Yeah, we can play very well and lose.
Yes.
And we can play very bad and win. You get, so it can go either way around. But still, it goes on preparation, timing, and just everyone trusting on us. The country has to trust on us. We have to trust on one another. We have to believe that it's achievable because it has been done before. Yeah, this is not the first time. The Ansets played, it was done before. So you're not new to this. Just bring the energy. We know Kenyans will be supporting us, and that's the best of it, to just try and win a game at a time.
Ansett is something else that I'd like you to talk about. 2019, Kenya makes it to Africa and goes on, makes it to the final, plays at the Afro-Basket. It was the first time, the last time Kenya was an Afro-Basket before that was 94. And it's because Kenya were hosting it. So it was an entire generation, it was a new generation of players, coming in. But how have you been trying to manage the truckload of expectations from the basketball fans in the country?
Actually, the Thunder effect, there you put it, has really helped. Has really helped the basketball in the country. At least now the belief has come back, because even we're grateful that the events were here and some people were able to come. They were able to come and see for themselves. That Thunder effect has brought back the belief in basketball that we still have talent in the country, that we still can perform at the highest level. So us building on that, we've actually, even if you look at now, the Federation has even expanded the technical aspect. Now we're going to be enough people on the technical so that you can try and read the games. So we're going to be good. This time we're good.
So if we see 5 coaches, it's not Joyriders. There's one for the center, for the small, one for the power forward, for the shooting guard.
Yes.
And for the point guard, everyone
has
somebody around.
Everybody has something to do there. Yes.
All right. So final word coming from Derek and Ian, as we come to a close, and because I know this is probably the 1 media engagement you're going to have before you travel next week.
I hope the fans are excited just like we are to go play, and I hope you guys are sticking with us through it all.
All right, Ian.
Yeah, I agree. Adding on to that, just like through supporting us, just remember, we're not playing just for ourselves as a team or like the last names on the back of our jerseys, but for the name of the country on the front. So we're here to represent the country and to show the continent what we're about.
Well, thank you very much, Coach Robert, Derek, Ian, Coach Ansett. They are part of the Morans, and they are going to be playing at the FIBA Afro-Basket qualifiers. It's the final round of qualifying. Group E, 21st of February, play against Tunisia. The 22nd, they play against Angola. And the 23rd, they play against Guinea. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being with us. And also, thank you for being with us. Over the past 2 hours, we'll be taking a break. And when we come back, it will be Tamrini with Yogo, and just before that, Kurunzi Mashinani. And remember, it's World Radio Week, so expect a lot of conversations and stories coming through from our radio team. My name is Daniel Wahome. Thank you for being with us, and have a good day.
Dora is a low-income neighborhood located 11 kilometers from the city center of Nairobi, with a population of 141,885, with high unemployment rate, criminal gangs, urban decay, and unregulated dump site. It is one of Africa's well-known slums. Most often, the girl child in such areas face a lot of challenges, including limited access to education due to poverty, lack of proper school facilities, early marriages, and teen pregnancies, which mostly is due to cultural norms and economic pressure, gender-based violence, limited economic opportunities, drugs and substance abuse, inadequate sanitation, and limited awareness and information about their rights, reproductive health, and available support services.
Nimelelewa huku kwanza nikiwa mdogo na mom na dad walikuwa wanapigana sana. Na ilituma hiyo kitu ilikuwa inatuma na give up hadi naona sana aje gani uishi juu ukifika kwa nyumba usiku hakuna amani. Saa zingine unapata wamefight, mama ameyepa. Mimi ndo msichana mkubwa kwetu. Unapata responsibilities zenye anafai kuwa anafanya ameniachia. Nilianza kutumia drug nikiwa class 7. Nilianza tu na bangi na kuna hii mafuta ya ndege pia ilikuwa inaletwanga shule. Sasa tulikuwa tunaiweka kwa nguo, alafu unishikilia hivi kwa mdomo. Sasa unajua ukishikilia hivi kwa mdomo hakuna ticha atajua ni nini unafanya, tadhani tu ni sweta umeshikilia na ni drug ulikuwa unatumia. Nimejidunga. Kujidunga na nilianza nikiwa high school. Ndio nilianza kupata saa. Unajua pia the more unapanda the more unapata watu wenye wanajua vitu zingine kukushinda. Chavez, kuweka. Hiyo ni ilinishindanga. Sasa nilibaki nimetumia sana ilikuwa bangi. Bangi nimetumia sana until nikazadi.
Nimepitia a lot, nimepitia sana manzejo. Life ya home ikuwa poa. Kuna zile vitu pia mnakosea home, makelele, dad kuna saa leti do, mama na hustle ndo alete ile yako nayo. Ile unaona pia watu wengi wana wakuli hatuko poa. Mama mpaka kuna siku alipatanga ball. Dad ashatuacha ameenda kutafuta job ushago. Sasa inabidi mama ndo anasonga na sisi, kuna sana fukuzwa fee na ka home hata kama 2 months. Ile ukirudi shule wanaona upendi shule, but ni vile home kwenyu vile huko. Tumepitia sana home. Mama kaza akakuwa na complication.
Katakata hizo vitunguu nyanya moja mbili tatu, alafu then leta majimaji unaongeza hivyo makuni inaweza kuwa rahisi.
Hata amekuandikia ka message hapa inasema Dear Ole Matope.
Hiyo ndia naitangwa na watu wa simu peke yake. Nimepata na yeye watoto. Alafu akaolewa na serikali.
Nakwambia luku ya leo. Hii hatari sana buda.
Na hii yako kwani